Iberia, ravaged by the bloody tides of war, kings and sultans, dukes and emirs. Adversity makes for strange bedfellows, my friend. And you must read carefully if you are to decide the fate of Iberia.
Guifre the Hairy has led a rather difficult life. At the young age of just 7 years old, his father and his uncle were butchered by the Duke of Toulouse. The Frankish king took their lands, leaving Guifre and his cousins destitute. It's been over 20 years, and the wheel continues to turn and come full circle. Reappointed to his father's lands, Guifre's scheming cousin has likewise taken back his birthright, and their new liege is a cousin of the man who killed their parents. Now we can clearly see that fortunes change in the blink of an eye, and Guifre the Hairy has ambitions of his own, looking towards Barcelona. Hello everybody, this is Havoc, and welcome to my first attempt at a Crusader Kings 3 role-playing experience. I've been under the tutelage of One Surreal Beliefs, so if you want to see the what I think is the height of Crusader Kings 3 role-playing, you can head over to his channel and watch all of his series. Before we begin, there are a few things that you can do to support this channel. You can give this video a thumbs up, you can sub to the channel, turn on bell notifications, share the video as well, and leave comments in the comments section down below. But also, if you want to buy the Fates of Iberia DLC or flavor pack, you can do so right at this very moment through my Nexus account, and that will go to support the channel. I get just a little bit of a commission from any sales, so it is greatly appreciated, but of course, never ever expected. So let's dive into Guifre the Hairy's story right now. All right, so we're gonna spend a decent little bit of time setting up the background of Guifre the Hairy. There's a lot going on here. It's not a simple start by any means of the term. But Count Guifre the Hairy of Urgell is the Count of Urgell, but that's not his only domain. He does own the barony of Jussa, Urgell, and then Puig Cerda. So something to think about. We have 3 out of our possible 4 holdings, and that amount has been shaped, of course, by our traits and our personalities, which is a result of what has happened throughout his entire life. To start, he is vengeful. Now, this boosts several areas while also making things a little bit harder to do, such as diplomacy does take a little bit of a hit. Intrigue and prowess do increase, though. We gain a percentage of dread, which is something you'll see repeated throughout Guifre's life. His hostile scheme success chance versus rivals increases by 15, which is important. Here in just a little bit, I'll let you know why. It also allows him to fabricate hook schemes against his rivals right off the bat. Now, unfortunately, it is sinful for Catholics to be vengeful, so he does take a little bit of a piety hit, but I think we'll find ways to remedy that. He is slow to forget any sort of slight or someone who does him wrong, so we'll have to keep that in mind. But he's also ambitious, which boosts his stats across the board. It also unfortunately increases his stress gain, so anything were to trigger, our stress increases by 25% versus other things. His ambitions mean that his liege, which we are currently under a liege, doesn't like him as much. Of course, we have to remember that our liege is also the cousin of the man who murdered our parents, or my parents, and my uncle, so I don't really care so much about that. We don't care one bit. Also, just is something that we are. So we are vengeful, but also we are just. We will avenge the rights and the wrongs that have been done to us and to other people. This increases our stewardship, which makes us a great idea for vassals underneath us. We gain a great deal of learning. Also, the vassal opinion increases by a decent bit. So we are seeing that we are somewhat ideal for vassals to be underneath us. And then our last personality trait is patience. So amongst all the things, we have a desire to seek justice through vengeance, but it's also been 20 years to get us to this point of becoming landed again, which means that we are patient. We abided our time and we are being justly rewarded for such thing. So between our personalities, it does of course boost our stats, but our education has also influenced us. We are a skilled tactician, which is a huge boost to martial and increases the martial lifestyle experience by a great deal. We have a rough terrain expert, which means we have advantages in hills, mountains, and wetlands. That's really beneficial for us, considering that all of our counties are currently in that rough terrain. Not to mention the surrounding counties around us also have that. That gives us a great advantage, both offensively and defensively, in any wars that we decide to engage in, which hopefully we'll use that for some early expansion ideas. Now, we also have the physical quick trait, which boosts all of our stats yet again. And this trait is congenital, which means that if we find someone compatible, we will have the opportunity to push that quick trait and maybe even amplify it. When I look for a spouse, we're definitely going to look to see if we can't encourage that trait even further, because it's not all about being the biggest and baddest warrior. Sometimes just being smart gives you an advantage that other people can't have. And I want to develop that potential in any children that I have. Our last physical trait is shrewd, and all of this time, being patient and vengeful, seeking justice, we have learned the value of good judgment and sharp wit. So it's not enough to be engaged in that idea of cold or hot-blooded vengeance, but knowing the right time to enact that justice lends to the patient, but also developed the shrewd. So as a result, we are quite the warrior, but we're not lacking necessarily in any area outside of potentially stewardship. But who knows, maybe our wife can help boost that as well, which will allow us to have more holdings. But our prowess of 19 means, combined with our other stats, means that we are going to be leading our armies personally, which I think will help of our vassals' opinion, but also have the potential to scare away quite a few people. Now, there are a few other people that I want to mention as we go into this before we officially start. The first is our liege. Our liege is Duke Bernat II of Gothia. He is our liege, and King Charles's, who is our king above us, it is his steward. Now, we have to remember that this is the cousin of the man who butchered our family. So ideally, I want to enact justice against him, vengeance against him. Not to mention he owns Barcelona to the south, which is something that I'm really wanting to pine for. However, he does have over twice the number of men as we do, which makes it very hard. We'll have to try and find a spouse who may be able to boost that, and or find alliances very quickly that we could use to help with that. Now, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to fight the Duke in hand-to-hand combat. He has a martial of 22 and a prowess of 17, which means that he is almost toe-to-toe with us, and I would rather not lose my life right off the bat, simply for vengeance sake. So I think we're going to have to try and do some sort of intrigue against him. Now, I may not like that very much. It may bring me a little bit of stress considering my personality traits, but I feel it's the only way that we're going to be able to enact the justice, grab the land that we need to grab, again, unless we have just some great military allies. Next up is, unfortunately, family. This is my cousin Sunyar of Girona. Now, he is that cousin whose father, my uncle, was slain 20 years ago. Unfortunately, he is also my rival. His lands, he grew up a little bit different than I did. Unfortunately, we did not grow up together, and therefore have developed much different tastes. He is ambitious, much like myself. He's also deceitful, which lends to his intrigue, and unfortunately, much like myself, he is also patient. But he's developed the flamboyant trickster education trait, which only boosts his intrigue. So whereas my liege, I couldn't face him in hand-to-hand combat and I need to use intrigue, even though this guy is my rival, my cousin, I can't use intrigue against him because he is so much higher in his intrigue than I am, and I don't feel like it would work. So we'll have to figure out how to tackle him. It may be we already have more troops than he does, so we could potentially conquer him and then figure out how to intrigue our way through our liege. We'll have to see. But there is hope at the light of this seemingly dark tunnel. And that light is Miron de Barcelona. He is currently our player heir, considering we don't have children. He's also my brother, so he has lent his weight to me as my vassal. He is a knight as well, but he is also my friend, and that is crucial, as it means I will have someone who has my back, who I can readily rely on. And thanks to the Fates of Iberia DLC, we can already do the swear oath of true friendship. Becoming best friends does have its benefits, as it's a special relation indicating lifelong dedication of support. Now, a stronger special relationship means that we will also have a hook on each other, which we could use to potentially exploit. I don't see us happening in the future, but you just never ever know. A couple more things, and then I promise that we will begin. For one, our religion is Catholic. Now, this is important to know because in the surrounding areas, it is not the case, and we are butting up right against some big potential players in this struggle, including the Sultanate of Al-Andalus. One of the things that I love about this DLC, of course, a little role-playing aside here, is the fact that I can become very good friends with some of these Muslim neighbors, and in fact, I think I will use that as sort of a backbone to push myself forward against my fellow Christians, because after all, these guys, Muslims, have not done anything to me as of yet. However, it is fellow Christians that have done things to me that have shaped my entire lifetime. So I think what we will try to do in this struggle is we will try to develop some very solid relationships, really dig into the struggle, probably not right off the bat when we first start our journey, but as things continue forward, we will see how we can influence this struggle positively through building some relationships, but also through some great deal of intrigue and ways to undermine larger empires to break them up so they're not so much a threat to us. However, we are also Catalan, and this is very intriguing because this is a conglomerate of cultures from Visigoth and Occitan, which occurred approximately 67 years ago. And as such, we are the culture head, which means we have the ability to switch out any sort of innovations that we want to. Let's go for plenary assemblies, because that will allow us to do limited crown authority, which will increase how much we receive from our vassals. Now, it says 57 years, but I imagine there will be some events that might be able to trigger that or things of that nature. Now, we are still in the tribal era. We haven't reached early medieval because that won't happen for a long time. But the fact that we have basically our own faith or our own culture allows us to really expand in some unique ways. We do have the Iberian heritage, which allows cultural acceptance baseline for that. We have the Dulc Vergar language. I probably butchered that. That's okay. Which means acceptance baseline with culture sharing this language. We have the Catalan aesthetics. Our martial is men only. We could reform that, I think, in the future, but it would cost a great deal of prestige. I'm not opposed to doing things of that nature. We will just have to see. We have the Visigothic codes, which means we have the high partition success law and can enact equal gender. We are maritime mercantilism. The trade port line of buildings can be constructed in one era earlier, and coastal holdings and countings of this culture provide an additional tax, which is another reason we want to go after Barcelona. Our refined poetry, which means that the poet trait has additional bonuses, is more common and performs better in court sessions. Our parochialism gives city holdings more taxes, development, and levies. City holdings significantly lowers control gain by 10%, and then Republican vassals, our opinion goes down of them or of us, but that's okay. And then the last one, which I think is fantastic, is ritualized friendship. We automatically have access to the befriend scheme, which happens regardless in some of the struggle phases. So it's not so unique per se in this region, but it's still highly relevant. We can ask friends to become best friends. Best friends receive that strong hook, but gain stress when we use them. And then best friends can use an interaction to gain bonus skills via modifiers at the expense of extra stress. And then, of course, for all Catalan characters, it gives scheme powers against friends plus 20, scheme powers against best friends plus 40. So again, we have that close bond, that strong hook, which we can use, and we could use it super effectively. But it will cause a lot of stress. It's now time to dive into our lifestyles. We are, of course, going to go with martial. I think that's the best thing. And then we're also going to go with chivalry. And the reason for chivalry is that our prowess is already impressive enough, but that prowess plus 3 will boost ourselves a little bit over even to what our Duke has. And I think if the Duke, if we were to get in a duel or something to that effect, I think being able to have that much more prowess over him would be fantastic. Makes us more attractive as well. And then of course we gain some more battle advantage, which I think is awesome. But Guifre has also gone down the gallant, which I think is symbiotic with the chivalry focus. He's a stalwart leader, which gives more prowess, reduces the risk of commanding armies, which is what we are going to do. Our knight effectiveness through chivalric dominance has also increased greatly, which means our knights are more effective in battle. Courtship, we have the romance, elope, success chance, and power chance increase. I don't think we'll use this, but you just never ever know. We may woo our own wife just to secure her love for us. And then promising prospects. Because of this, our marriage acceptance for ourselves is plus 50 for close family, and extended family is 25, which is great. Gallant is the perfect thing for us starting out. We can get down to never back down, which gives us more advantages, and household guard increases our number of knights, and also allows us to go down the strategist and overseer, which both have some great and fantastic things that we could really lean on. I promise you we'll start here soon, but there's so many things we need to set up. We need a marriage, and we need someone who is strong, but also intelligence is equally as important, if not more important. We have a Riqueza, which unfortunately has no allies. And an alliance here would be fantastic, and in fact, this wouldn't be too bad. Cornelia de Milano is only 10, which I do believe by the age of 16 she would come to full adulthood, which means that we could then wed her officially. That's only 6 years, and while that would put me at 33, it's a little weird, but you know what, considering the times, I wouldn't think it would be too bad. You know what, I am going to do that. It will give us a alliance with the County of Lombardia, which isn't a ton of people, but 600 is almost equal to our own, so we would almost be doubling our amount. And then, of course, she is a genius. Diplomacy, martial stewardship, intrigue, and learning +5, and this is congenital, meaning our children have a great increase in potential for that. She is a little bit greedy though, which is okay, but she also has a great deal of stewardship, which will work for us. Now, if we do that, of course, she gains prestige, we don't, which is all right. Inheritable traits, again, quick and genius, fantastic, and then would also increase the alliance there. They are going to accept that, and thanks to our promising prospects, we actually have just enough that would have put us over where it wouldn't have before. So we're going to send that proposal, and that alliance has been formed. So we are officially betrothed. Now, she doesn't have a great opinion of me, and once we get her into our court, we'll be able to sway her enough, or maybe it'll just happen later on. Now, we're going to deck out our council and then be on our merry. We can see here that suffrage bishop Guillaume Jorda of Urgel doesn't like us. We have a short reign right now, and of course vengeful is a sin to our faith, and as a result we are not being endorsed. We are going to sway him, which has a 79% chance thanks to my diplomacy. It will take approximately 11 months for the first set. So I'm hoping that by the end of this we can force our bishop to see the way of things and get that support for our monthly income. Now our chancellor is Mayor Alvar of Andorra. He is a strong and powerful vassal, but he's not the best for our situation. Now, he doesn't have a great deal of vassals, so I am going to go ahead and switch him out and switch out Miron, my best friend, and of course my player heir, etc., etc. He does have a great deal more experience in this realm. De la de Impuries is our best man there. Mayor Renard, I'm really contemplating switching you out. I think that's what we'll have to do. I don't care so much about putting powerful vassals in at the moment. And then Baron Gerard of Vila, you are the best man for the job. Outside of putting my mother in, I don't think we're really going to put my mother in. I don't think that would be advisable. But also in our Liege's council, we are the marshal ourselves, which increases our prowess, gold maintenance, levy size, and our martial lifestyle experience. So we are going to gain our martial lifestyle at a very, very very quick rate, which is going to be awesome. Now it is time to decide our first course of action. We have family members that can get married. I think I might hold off on that just until the next episode, but we do have several wars that we could do, including Count Sunyar of Girona. Now, if we were to go right off the bat, we could take out my rival. We could use the struggle clash, which is unique to the fates of Iberia, in which case, if we had enough piety, we could seize all of the territory within the realm. We don't have enough for that, though. So instead, we could go after the county of Girona or the county of Rosello for a very, very limited amount of prestige. And that's also thanks to the struggle phase, as you can see there. The struggle phase reduces that by a lot, and then Defender of the same dynasty would go a great distance. Girona, let's see which would have the greater benefit for us. Girona has a tax of 1.7 and a castle level of 2, which would be great. And yes, the county of Rosello is not near as much, although it has the same level. I say we go after the barony of Girona and see how that rolls. Yep, let's go ahead and do it. We vastly outnumber him by up to 3 times the amount, so I don't think he could really do anything against us, and we would gain the county of Girona, as well as the bishopric of Olostret in the city of Olis. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Now, we already have more than he does, just straight off the bat, but I do think we'll go ahead and call on my ally. It will only cost me 75 prestige, and I have plenty of prestige already. He should, for no reason, be able to. There we go. Awesome. He's going to come in. We may not need it, but you just never know. Now we're going to go ahead and work on the barony of Girona. We see his army, which is a little bit less than ours. We're going to see if we can't capture him up in these hills. Remember that rough terrain is my specialty, and there's not much that he can really do. Our knight was wounded. Oh no, by Mayor Gwillem. It looks like I don't want to speak too soon. We don't quite have the advantage here. Under the stone pine. In the scorching midday heat, they sit in the shadow under a great stone pine, playing on lutes and flutes. They sing in many tongues, yet my heart can understand every word. I can hear them from my balcony, and they stir my soul. Yet I do not know the identity of these musicians, and when I leave my lofty halls and approach the tree, they are gone. Are they sent from heaven? Are they phantoms devised by Satan to ensnare me? Perhaps not. But what am I to do with these feelings? If we get awed by beauty, our stress gain gets reduced, which is great. We can't invest in music, unfortunately, because we would go into debt. If we gain the aversion to joy, martial per stress level equals +2. We gain dread, but also popular opinion. We're going to go by so beautiful. Why not? Back to the battle. And it looks like we will win. Let's take a look at the stats here just to see what went down there. Our knights killed the most people, just only 10 more than they did. Our levies contributed just a little bit. Unfortunately, they have pikemen, which gave them a huge advantage over our light horsemen, which almost lost us the entire battle. As you can see, we both equally lost a good deal of men. And then in the pursuit, our horsemen weren't able to really do a whole lot. Unfortunately, I do believe Miron de Conflont, which is not our best friend, has unfortunately died. However, Miron, our actual best friend, was wounded, and we don't have anyone to help out there. Mayor Renard of Livia has also been wounded, but Jean Guiraud on their side was wounded as well. Now, overall, we do need some better knights, so we're going to see what we can't do, and it's something I should have approached in the first place. We're going to make Mayor Renard. He is unfortunately wounded. My brother and knight Rodolphe, we'll put him in. My marshal, we're actually going to forbid him. Mayor Alvar of Andorra will go in. Myron, my player heir. Yeah, we'll put those guys in for now. And then my brother will force him to fight so my spy master doesn't have to. Again, it's that 75% that I think really helped boosted us in that battle. He's retreating, and I'm going to go in and try and take the baron, of Girona. And finally, my allies have come in to help and join me. One thing we still have to be mindful of is the enemy army. He may try and take some of my castles, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything to us. And you can see by that he's not able to do anything, and our allies are actually going after him, which is fantastic. I love the initiative. Unfortunately, it looks like he may lose the battle. He does not share that mountains trait that we do. And he is actually going to lose the battle, which is extremely unfortunate. I could not have made it in time. However, we'll see where he goes. He only has 292 men versus my 700. And even if he goes into here, our hills rough terrain is going to allow us to take over. Yep, Count Sunyar is leading it. So maybe we'll be able to capture him or get into a duel with our cousin and maybe kill him once and for all. Here we go. This might be the last battle. Our knight has wounded Jean Guiraud, who was the lead knight in the last battle. Perfect. Enemy combat slain, your cousin Dela. It's very unfortunate. But we've also captured Mayor Carlos of Rose, which is fantastic as well. And that does give us our 100%. We are going to enforce the demands. We get the county of Girona, as I mentioned before. And he is one less county than he was before. Now, automatically, we are going to send our marshal over here. This will complete in 12 years, but hopefully we'll be able to work on that a little bit more. So right off the bat, we are already doing great, and we have triggered a little bit in the hostility, I believe, phase, triggered by Count Guifré, which is us. When a war you started against another involved ruler. This brings us towards hostility. The Iberian struggle is something we will go over in the next episode, so don't worry about that. It is absolutely fantastic, though, which I really enjoy the Iberian struggle and its mechanics. And from a role-playing perspective in this situation, for Guifré personally, I think it will create some fantastic opportunities to create some very good scenarios over there. We have won our first war right off the bat. We could declare several more wars. We can ransom Carl's, excuse me. We're going to wait just a little bit to see if he can drum up some more money before we decide to do that. And then, of course, we are the first in line for the County of Roses. You know what? Can we intrigue our way through it? We cannot intrigue our way through it. What is our cooldown? For 5 years, so in 873 we can go through that. Now, for the barony of Barcelona, my liege, Duke Bernat of Gothia, we would have a very relatively low chance of surviving this scheme. And I'm sure that's due in part to his council, who may be able to... Let's see what his council looks like. Yeah, Count Sunyar, of course. How could I forget? Yeah, his intrigue of 20 is going to cause us some issues. We may have to see if we can get rid of him somehow. But that will be for the next episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this. We will keep to short episodes because I think it'll be more engaging that way to see how things progress. Also, just give you a nice little break from having to watch super long role-playing videos. Guys, if you enjoyed any part of this, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notifications, and again, if you are interested in purchasing the Fates of Iberia, which is happening right this very moment, you can do so through my Nexus store. Again, it supports this channel financially while also giving you something in return, which I think is the best kind of deal you can get out there. Guys, thank you so much. This is Havoc, and I'll see you in the next episode of Guifre The Hairy.
Iberia, ravaged by the bloody tides of 4, kings and sultans, dukes and emirs. Adversity makes for strange bedfellows, my friend. And you must tread carefully if you are to decide the fate of Iberia.